Wow, the telepathy update from Elon Musk in one of the first Neuralink patients is wild. We're going to talk about that. But first, I want to touch on, with Mikey, this pig being used to basically grow a replacement kidney for a human. What happened here, Mikey?
We've got some medical breakthroughs to talk about today. So for the first time ever, surgeons transplanted a kidney from a pig into a living person, from a genetically modified pig into a real living person. And this is a 62-year-old man by the name of Richard Slayman, who was suffering from end-stage kidney disease, unfortunately. And he received the kidney over the weekend.
I want my last name to be Slayman.
I was thinking the same.
And then you got to say it like the Halo guy, Slayman. Anyway, so 4-hour procedure.
4-hour procedure. And he's recovering well and expected to be discharged soon.
It's crazy. Now, I was looking at this a little bit, like how do they do this? Because I've heard of them transplanting animal organs into humans before. There was this guy, he had a pig heart transplanted into him, and he lived for about 2 months, which is like, it's great. You get an extra 2 months, but the person's name was David Bennett. He was 57. They did this experiment. They're like, look, you're going to die of heart failure in days. Let's try this. And so they went for it. He did get an extra 2 months, but then he ended up dying anyway, which is really sad. And all of these are approved by the FDA as part of their compassionate use programs. In fact, they've been transplanting animal organs into people who are either brain dead or basically terminally ill, just as a way to maybe try fixing a problem. And so far, they haven't really done so well. So what makes this unique is it's finally a step ahead of what we've been seeing in the past, where you get a few weeks to a couple months. For example, in October, they took gene-edited pig kidneys and transplanted them into monkeys and kept those monkeys alive for up to 2 years. Again, comparing to maybe a few weeks to 2 months for prior transfers. How do they do that? They gene edited these. You mentioned how many gene edits were there?
69.
69. Giggity. Gene edits.
Yeah, I mean, like you mentioned, they have to be modified. Otherwise, the body's going to just reject it. It doesn't stick. Like, you're only going to get a couple of weeks to a couple of months. Whereas this is really, it's human stem cells inside of a pig, and the pig is basically just being used as an incubator in this case.
And that's so weird. I read that about 65% of the end product of this organ that's grown in the pig is human. And so the pig is mostly growing this like blended, crossbreeded organ for use in a human, rather than taking an organ from an animal and sticking it into a human and then saying, here, human, take drugs so your body doesn't reject the organ. You're literally creating something with almost a supermajority of human cells. This is like, now we're going back to Congress now. You could imagine if you had a supermajority. Oh, I know what that would look like. It would look like California and San Francisco. Oh, anyway. Ouch. So, why are people doing this? Why can't they just get organ transfers?
Yeah, just for the rest of your life, you're going to have to be on medicines, basically on medication, to prevent your body from rejecting it and you killing yourself.
From getting other transplants from these other animals. And then I think it's the shortage of just organs available in terms of why people need this at all in the first place. And I've always thought they should, on driver's licenses, have it says organ donor or not. I feel like it should almost be like an opt-in, or rather like everybody's opted in automatically to organ donating. So if you die, you can save somebody else's life, and then you have to opt out as opposed to the current system of opt-in. I wonder if any states do that.
Not any states that I know of, and it's been a few years since I've looked into this, but there are countries that do the opt-in method or the opt-out method instead, where you're opted in by default and you have to manually opt out.
Yeah.
And they do see a higher amount of donors, obviously, for that reason, because people stick to the default.
Yeah, it's sort of like a default bias. Okay, so that's interesting. So I wonder why there isn't a motivation to do that, because it does seem like we would get a whole lot more supply of organs to actually save people with, imagine this, 100% human organs. I can only imagine how much waste there is in unfortunately healthy people who die, or people who die of an ailment in one organ but all the other ones are perfectly fine and could keep going for 30 years, and somebody dies and they lose 30 years of potential life because there was just no supply. That's sad.
In the case of some of these kidneys too, they don't last as long as I expected. Like in the case of this guy, Rick Slayman, he already had a human kidney transplant done 5 years prior, and it showed signs of failure after about 5 years. So
Really?
after that, he had to resume dialysis, and he was told like this is late stage kidney. And because he was so desperate, that's when the FDA compassionate use program comes into place. Is it's for patients with little to no other options, and he took it.
See, I didn't know that. So after a certain amount of time, even a human organ might expire. That's sad. That's pretty sad. Okay. Well, on another topic, Elon is now leading the way into telepathy. What do you know about this? I think that thing is so interesting, getting an implant into essentially your brain that you then have to like attach. I kind of think of it as like an Apple Watch charger. It sort of magnets onto your head to charge. It's weird. But I mean, tell me about this. It sounded kind of cool. I saw a little bit of the video too of a guy playing chess with telepathic powers, all thanks to Elon Musk.
This is all thanks to Elon. He single-handedly. Well, no. So Neuralink obviously is a huge company, and yes, it's one of Elon's companies. But I've been really, really optimistic about this, especially some of the previews we've seen of future products like Blind Sight, which let blind people see. But for right now, this one is telepathy. I think that's what it's called, just telepathy. And this is a huge breakthrough. So they just did a live stream yesterday. It was like a 9-minute live stream showing the first ever human trial of this device because they've tested it on monkeys before. And this patient, so his name is Nolan, he had dislocated his C4 and C5.
Jeez.
Yeah. I have horrible back issues. I can relate to this. But so it was apparently a freak diving incident, and it made him quadriplegic, and he's been paralyzed from the shoulders down ever since that incident. But now, and we'll show some video overlaid on this, he's playing chess telepathically using just his brain.
That's wild. And I wonder if it's like Apple Vision. Like, how do you like click? Like, I guess you just have to think. Click.
I think you just think it.
That's
you just
bizarre.
think it. And I've seen other companies that have done early stages of similar things before, not necessarily going way into your brain, but when you think about doing something, like when you think about moving your arm, it fires a lot of the same neurons as actually moving your arm, just to a much smaller degree. And I think it picks up on that and makes it a reality.
That's wild. Oh, I'm just looking at the C4, C5, I guess, is in your neck. Yeah. So it's way up here. So that's why he's quadriplegic, is whatever nerve ending or signal endings were damaged here, or pathways, not necessarily endings, were probably severed or crushed or damaged to where he just can't control anything down below. That's crazy and sucks. And so basically he only has control over what's above his neck, so his head. And this is actually giving him an opportunity to not have somebody basically babysit him all day long with things that he could now do on a computer himself, which is actually
right away.
Impressive.
First thing he did is played Civilization 6 until 6 a.m.
See, that's awesome. Like, how fun is that? Like, at least you have, at least you can live somewhat. You're never going to be fully normal, but that's really cool and honorable. So good for Elon.
Yeah, there's more about the process that isn't really, we don't have the information on right now. Like, my understanding is before they activated the device, but after they did the surgery, there was a period of downtime where they didn't have it activated. I don't know why.
Interesting.
There's not much information on that.
Maybe just let the site heal and everything. And
possibly.
Who knows?
Maybe run some tests. I don't know. This is all speculation. They didn't supply us with any information on that.
Yeah, and I guess there's this idea that you could take Optimus limbs and replace human limbs in the future. So then you could actually think about using a hand, and it's an Optimus hand. Now that's kind of cool, because now you could see, the dream should be making Nolan normal again, making him have arms and hands and legs and feet that function with his brainwaves. That's pretty cool. As opposed to you're still otherwise a vegetable, basically, sitting in front of a laptop. At least you have some freedom to click around. I wonder what the lag is like. Hopefully, they can software update it. But Apple software updated their Vision Pro.
Is it noticeably better?
Somewhat better. But
how long does it take to charge an Apple Vision Pro? How long does it last?
That's a good question. I I almost anytime I use it, I just leave it plugged in because I had it the other day where I didn't have it plugged in, and then all of a sudden it throws up a warning. It says you have 30 seconds left before the Vision Pro shuts down, and I'm like, okay. I take the battery block, plug it in, and the countdown's still going.
Oh no!
I'm like, bro, it's plugged in. 9, 8. I unplug it. I replug it in. 6, 5. I'm like, whatever, and it turns off.
Wow.
So kind of annoying, but
yeah, that would be unfortunate if the Neuralink happened like that too. It's like you'll shut down in 5 seconds.
No, if you don't plug me in, you plug it in, and it's still counting down.
Because the restriction on this is he's saying, obviously he's been using it for gaming. He's using it extensively. He says the biggest restriction on this thing is charging the implant after using it for 8 hours. And I don't know if you can charge it while using it. I'm assuming not.
Ah, that is interesting. Right. Huh. That is so fascinating. Yeah. All right. Well, that's good. I mean, good for Elon, and it's really exciting about both of these things. I mean, if we can solve organ problems by basically co-breeding them with animals and now breed as many organs as we need, that's great because theoretically, I mean, if we eat pork, we're not eating their organs, right? So what are the organs normally used for?
Probably animal feed.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, so this could go to a much higher purpose, right? Because you could eat the pig and then use the organs to actually give people the opportunity to survive for potentially years longer. Minimizing waste, I suppose. But now what do the pigs think about this?
Pigs are actually very intelligent.
They
understand. They have the intelligence of like a 2 or 3 year old human child.
So they support the idea.
I haven't asked. Next time I go to Bulgaria, I'll do some boots on the ground research. I'll let you know.
Perfect. Well, there you have it. Thanks so much for watching, and that's an update on Neuralink and pig organ harvesting / grafting with stem cells.